Let's have a look at 3 key ideas here: and probabilities, or probabilities, and expected values. So in probability is when we talk about, see that word and, that means we need to multiply. Or means we are going to add. And when I see expected value, or sometimes we can talk about the estimated value, then that's talking about our sample size, or we can talk about that as number of trials. And it's going to be our sample size n times the probability is equal to our expected value. So this is the one formula that we actually need to remember. So let's have a look at an example. We've got a random sample of 63 students at OSC, and they were surveyed and asked which month their birthday was. And we've got them in that graph below. All right, so we've got January, February, March, and on this axis, on the left axis, we've got the number of students. So for example, here, the first bar, January, there are 3 students there who have a birthday in January out of the 63 students that were surveyed. So that's the graph, and I always start by making sure I understand the graph. Now the question is, what is the probability that a randomly chosen student has a birthday in November or December? There's that word or. Now hopefully we remember the word or in probability means to add. So I want to find the probability of being in November, and I want to add that to the probability of a birthday being in December. So let's have a look. So in November, we've got, so here's our November bar. That is, reading across there, that is 4 students had a birthday in November. So that's 4 out of the 63 students with a birthday in November. For December, that bar there is going across there to 7. So I'm going to add 7 students out of the 63. Combine that together, and you can quite happily use your calculator for this, and that will give me 11 out of 63. Or if you would rather write that as a decimal, which you're more than welcome to, you would write that as 0.1746. And I often go to 4 decimal places when doing probabilities. So there's an example of an or probability that I need to add those two together. Let's have a look at a different question now. What's the probability that 2 sisters both have a birthday in June? So if I'm talking about 2 sisters, that means I've got sister 1 and I've got sister 2. Okay. So I need to look at, for sister 1, I want to know what's the probability that sister 1 has her birthday in June, and I want sister 2 to know what's the chance of her sister 2 having her birthday in June. So the word and probability means times. So now I need to find the probability of somebody having their birthday in June. So I'm going to look in June, and in June there are 10 students who have their birthday in June. So there's a probability of 10 out of 63 and 10 out of 63 for sister 2's probability of being in June. I'm going to get my calculator out, and I am going to multiply those two together, and that will give me an answer of 100 over 3969, or if you would rather write that as a decimal, 0.0252 to 4 decimal places. So that was an and or probabilities to have a look at. Let's have a look at this one. What's the probability that a student selected at random has a birthday in the second half of the year? So the second half of the year, we've got 12 months in the year. So the first 6 months, January, February, March, April, May, June, there's our first 6 months. And our second 6 months is July through December. So we want to know the chance that they have a birthday in the second half. So that means it could be in July, or in August, or in September, or in October, or in November, or in December. So I'm going to need to combine all of these together, and or in probability, remember, means to add. So I'm going to do probability of July plus the probability of August, plus the probability of September, plus the probability of October, plus the probability of November, plus the probability of December. Okay, so in July, there are 6 students with a birthday in July out of the 63, plus in August, we have 1 student with a birthday in August. September, I have 7 students out of 63. October, I have 8 students in my survey. November, there are 4. And December, there is 7. So I'm going to add all those together, and that gives me 33 out of 63. Or if you would rather do that as a decimal, we can do that, and that will give you an answer of 0.5238. Okay, let's have a look at this question now. If there are 580 students at OEC, how many would you expect, there's a good hint, to have a birthday in August? Okay, so this 580, that is my sample size N. Okay, so I know N is equal to 580, and that's also a big hint. As soon as I see expect or sample size, I want to think E equals N times P. All right, so I have sample size N of 580. Now I need to work out the probability. And we've asked how many would you expect to have a birthday in August? So I want to find the probability of having a birthday in August. So there is 1 student who has a birthday in my sample out of 63. So now I can say my expected value is 580 times 1 over 63. I'm going to put that into my calculator, and that gives me a value of 9.2. Now let's just think about what this answer is. This is asking us how many students would we expect to have a birthday. So can we have 9.2 students? No. We either have to have a whole number of students. We can't have 0.2 of a student. That's not possible. So that means either we've got 9 students or we've got 10 students. And I need, if I want to get my merit and things, I need to round that to a whole number. Okay?